9 Star Trek actors appear in Black Mirror, who they play, and in which episodes. At first glance, Star Trek and Black Mirror feel like ideological opposites. One is rooted in optimism, exploration, and the belief that humanity can overcome its worst instincts through cooperation and curiosity. The other is a dark, often brutal anthology that assumes technology will amplify our flaws rather than redeem us. And yet, when you look closely, the two franchises are deeply connected. Both are fundamentally science fiction morality plays. Both ask uncomfortable questions about identity, power, free will, and the consequences of progress. And perhaps most intriguingly, both have drawn from the same pool of talented actors. Over the years, Black Mirror has quietly featured a surprising number of performers who once boldly went where no one had gone before. Some of these actors brought Star Trek gravitas into Black Mirror's bleak worlds. Others flipped audience expectations by playing characters radically different from their Trek personas. Together, they form an unexpected bridge between two of science fiction's most influential franchises. Here are 9 Star Trek actors who appeared in Black Mirror, who they played, and why their performances matter. 1. Jesse Plemons. Star Trek role: Ensign Ricky Thompson, Star Trek, Voyager. Black Mirror episode: USS Callister, Season 4, Episode 1. Jesse Plemons may not be a household Star Trek name, but his appearance in Voyager as the ill-fated Ensign Ricky Thompson left a strong impression on fans. Thompson was a troubled, emotionally volatile officer whose obsession with 7 of 9 led to tragic consequences, an early hint of the morally complex characters Plemons would later master. That complexity reached a chilling peak in Black Mirror's USS Callister, where Plemons played Robert Daly, a socially isolated programmer who traps digital clones of his coworkers inside a twisted, retro sci-fi simulation. The episode is a direct parody of classic Star Trek, right down to the costumes, bridge design, and heroic music cues. Plemons' casting is perfect. His gentle, unassuming demeanor makes Daly's cruelty even more disturbing, turning the episode into a scathing critique of fandom, entitlement, and power fantasies. It's one of Black Mirror's most iconic installments, and a dark mirror, literally, of Star Trek's utopian promise. 2. Michaela Seal. Star Trek role: Lieutenant Commander B'Elanna Torres' Academy peer, Star Trek, Short Treks. Black Mirror episode: USS Callister, Season 4, Episode 1. Michaela Soul's brief involvement with Star Trek came via Short Treks, where she appeared in experimental storytelling formats that expanded Trek's universe. While her Trek role was relatively small, her impact on Black Mirror was anything but. In USS Callister, Seal plays Shania Lowry, a confident, outspoken digital clone who quickly becomes one of the leaders of the rebellion against Daly's godlike control. Her performance brings humor, defiance, and emotional grounding to an episode filled with existential horror. Soul's presence adds a modern, self-aware edge that contrasts beautifully with the deliberately old-fashioned Star Trek aesthetic. She embodies the idea that even in simulated realities, agency and resistance matter, a theme both franchises wrestle with in different ways. 3. Billy Magnuson. Star Trek role: Montgomery Scotty Scott, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, alternate reality tease. Black Mirror episode: USS Callister, Season 4, Episode 1. Billy Magnuson is another USS Callister alumnus with Trek DNA. While his connection to Star Trek is more recent and unconventional, Magnuson has been closely associated with Trek legacy characters through modern reinterpretations and franchise expansions. In Black Mirror, Magnuson plays Carl Valduck, a smarmy coworker whose digital clone suffers some of the episode's most shocking punishments. His exaggerated arrogance makes him an easy target, but the episode ultimately complicates that satisfaction by reminding viewers that even digital consciousness can feel pain. Magnuson's performance leans into satire, echoing the broad character archetypes of early Star Trek while exposing how those archetypes can be weaponized in the wrong hands. Or Alice Eve. Star Trek role: Dr. Carol Marcus, Star Trek Into Darkness. Black Mirror episode: Striking Vipers, Season 5, Episode 1. Alice Eve's turn as Dr. Carol Marcus in Star Trek Into Darkness placed her squarely within the Kelvin timeline's reimagining of classic Trek characters. She portrayed a brilliant scientist navigating a militarized starfleet, a far cry from her Black Mirror role. In Striking Vipers, Eve plays Gina, a virtual reality fighter whose digital avatar becomes the object of desire in an emotionally complex, genre-bending story about identity, sexuality, and connection. While her screen time is limited compared to the episode's leads, Her presence is essential to its thematic punch. Eve's performance blurs the line between physical and digital selves, a concept Star Trek has explored through holodecks and androids, but which Black Mirror pushes into far more intimate territory. 5. Jimmy Simpson. Star Trek role. Young officer, uncredited, Star Trek, Enterprise. Black Mirror episodes. USS Callister, Season 4. Black Museum, Season 4. Jimmy Simpson holds the rare distinction of appearing in multiple Black Mirror episodes, each time playing a very different role. His Trek connection is obscure, an early, uncredited appearance during Enterprise's run, but his sci-fi credentials are undeniable. In USS Callister, Simpson plays Walton, a shallow executive whose clone is stripped of agency and dignity. In Black Museum, he portrays a doomed medical test subject whose consciousness becomes a perpetual exhibit of suffering. Across both episodes, Simpson embodies Black Mirror's bleakest message. That technological advancement often comes at the expense of empathy. His performances echo some of Star Trek's cautionary tales, but without the safety net of a hopeful resolution. 6. Hannah John Kamen. Star Trek role. Starfleet Cadet, Star Trek. Short Treks. Black Mirror episode. 15 Million Merits. Season 1, Episode 2. Before becoming a genre regular in major franchises, Hannah John Kamen appeared in Black Mirror's early standout episode 15 Million Merits. She plays Selma Tells, a pop culture judge whose cheerful cruelty epitomizes the episode's dystopian entertainment machine. Her later appearance in Star Trek's expanded universe feels almost ironic given this role. In Black Mirror, she represents a system that exploits dreams. In Star Trek, she becomes part of a franchise built on aspirational ideals. The contrast highlights how the same performer can embody radically different visions of the future. 7. Daniel Kaluuya. Star Trek role. Starfleet officer cameo, Star Trek, Enterprise. Black Mirror episode. 15 Million Merits. Season 1, Episode 2. Daniel Kaluuya's lead performance in 15 Million Merits remains one of Black Mirror's most haunting. As Bing, a man trapped in a dehumanizing cycle of labor and spectacle, Kaluuya delivers a raw, emotionally devastating portrayal that helped define the show's reputation. Years earlier, Kaluuya appeared briefly in Star Trek, Enterprise, long before his breakout success. Seeing him evolve from a background Trek role to anchoring one of Black Mirror's most iconic episodes